points,
Yes.
but don't pay any interest.
Yes.
Yes,
So
I got
was
that
good.
too. I love that.
Yeah, I really like that,
That
too.
was great.
So if you can do it,
Yeah.
it's really important too. And the other thing she talked about was, I believe her grandfather taught her about saving as little as $5.
Right.
So that was key too. That I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter how much.
That shows how important the parenting is.
It's
I
true.
mean, what we're going to talk about tonight, and just going back to each one of them. Even Kelvin mentioned his household.
True, he did.
Different things he learned. So when you see successful millennials, a lot of times it goes back to their parents or who they were around, grandparents,
Right, their community.
Yeah, their community of people that they're around. So that was great.
That it had a positive impact on them, right?
Right.
Because I think Kelvin, speaking of Kelvin, he mentioned too, being a manager at Kaiser.
Right.
I think Michael asked him a question about how does he deal with the different generations.
Yeah.
And he's, or it may have been around the ages, but Kelvin's response, which I thought was brilliant, he said that he doesn't really focus on the generations so much. He specifically deals with the individual.
Right.
So gets to know that person as the person that they are.
And he mentioned he grew up in a household with 3 different generations.
True, he did.
So he felt like he knew that it wasn't about the generation.
Sure.
It's about, really listening and hearing that person as an individual. So that was really good.
That was really.
I thought he did a great job talking about leadership.
He did. He really did. And to be such a young man and have such a good, a strong role at this point. I mean, the show was just outstanding. So we don't want to forget Holly D.
Oh yeah.
Holly D. Photography.
She's great.
She's great. She's so young. I wish our viewers really knew the full essence of her story, but if you didn't get a chance to watch that, her background, go back over that. She does go into some aspects of it. Michael did an excellent job asking some questions that kind of pulled some things out, so it made for excellent, exciting conversation.
Yeah.
But she talked about, I think that she just recently won an award.
Oh yeah.
Was it the Fearless
Female
Award? Yes.
Yeah, she's won some other awards too. I mean, when she decided to make the jump from having a full-time job to being an entrepreneur, she talked about all the planning that she did in preparation, which I thought was really
and didn't
great.
She saved all the money ahead of time.
She paid off our debt. She saved enough money for like a year or something like that.
Yeah.
Something that was just really
for
phenomenal.
Her age, that was
for
phenomenal.
Her,
Yes.
Yeah. So she went into her business just fully ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Michael even talked to her about how does she deal with in her industry. She looks young. I mean, she's just such a cute, girl.
She really
so
is,
she's going into that industry and making people feel like she's going to do a good job at something so serious as your capturing your wedding photos or things that you never do twice. So,
Sure.
she mentioned that she really learned from striving for excellence.
Yes, she did.
That topic, that's what she does. She excels their expectations, and then
they hire her.
That's how she gets all her referrals.
Yes, so, I thought that was excellent too. I mean, she really does a great job. I think she talked about her portfolio, and what I really liked, I think Kelvin and Holly both referenced the fact that they really look to the older generations to learn from, to understand, to understand how, because to your point, they're younger, but they also have so much to offer, and so they have a good balance of bringing that respect in for those that were older, that's kind of already in the workforce, if you will, and then
getting advice and asking for help and things like that. Yeah, that was awesome. A good job for them.
We don't want to forget Molly, master stylist at Jovan's Salon and Barbering, and her story. She might have had an appointment today. But her story was what I really liked about Molly's story, really the panel that I thought was very diverse and key, is because this particular group of millennials, they all are graduates of the Life Skills Academy.
Right.
But Molly, all of them were, right? And then Molly, what I liked is she decided to kind of go another route, and so kind of the non-traditional.
Right.
And so that takes a lot of courage to do that, because whenever all your peers may be, going to a four-year university or things of that nature. Yeah. And then it took a lot of internal substance and courage to really say, this is just not me. It's
Right.
not clicking. But what she did do, what I really appreciate and respect her for, was she did continue in that road until she saw this is just not clicking. Then she decided to branch off, so she had to have the courage to do that.
Right.
And then she said she learned as she went, still not really sure if it was going to work out.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, so that's a lot of,
Yeah.
you know, guts, right?
Right,
You know, to
yeah.
really just say, I don't know if this is going to work, but I know that this feels right at the moment. So I'm going to just kind of keep walking and make sure that, you know, I do
Yeah.
everything that I can to see if this is it for me. And it happened to be it for her.
I know. That was great how Michael captured that. For her, it was following her passion.
Yes,
And how do you
yes.
follow your passion?
Yes.
And Molly did a great job at doing that. Like you mentioned, having to not go the traditional route, but what she's passionate about.
Right.
And like you said, she took advantage of the opportunities that she had. So she really,
Sure did. She really
was
did.
working at Javant's, and then
Oh, yeah, I like that.
she came out of doing front desk, which she
Yes.
said she wasn't good at, and into
Oh,
trying
so
to do
sweet.
hair. So
Yeah.
she said once she did the first client that said they liked their hair, it was like it clicked.
It
So
clicked. Yeah.
I think Michael even mentioned like carpe diem, like seizing the moment when
Yes.
things like that happen, that you
He sure
take
did.
advantage of
Yeah.
those key moments in life, and just looking for those things
Yes.
is really great.
So that
good.
was as you can see, Megan and I could, you know, we enjoyed the show, and
I
you
really
all,
did.
I really,
I really
did,
liked that
I really
show a
did,
lot.
and you all, if you're
it was
out there
really good.
watching, hi to Kelvin, Abigail, Molly, Holly, you all really impacted us, as you can see, and so we're still talking about it, still learning. But I want to just switch real quick here. If you are, we're about 4 minutes before the show, so if you're still traveling, commuting, if you've arrived at your destination, we want to make sure that you have a really strong Wi-Fi. You're not going to want to miss just one moment of tonight's show. So you want to be settled, get yourself a snack if you have time. Make sure that you want to take some notes, because tonight, Michael and the panel, as we mentioned earlier, is speaking about the iGeneration. So they're gonna, Michael's gonna give some really good tips
Yeah.
on parenting and mentoring, and
Raising the iGeneration.
yes,
Yeah.
which, okay, we'll give just a little sneak peek. The iGeneration, for those of you who don't know, are children born at 1996 to the present. So if you just think about whatever year we were born, that this group, right? You know, this group of children and young people, they their world is completely different from, you know, when
Completely different, yeah.
right? You know, it's
Yeah.
a smartphone, it's, you know, different social issues that are out
YouTube,
there.
Facebook, everything.
Everything is
Yeah.
completely, you know, no one plays hot
All
lava.
the video games.
Yeah. What happened
They're
to hot
not playing
lava?
hopscotch.
They're not playing hopscotch. They're not
They're
playing
on the
dodgeball.
phone. Everywhere you go, you see children on their
You do.
devices, whether it's an iPad or
Yes.
a phone of some sort. They're locked in.
They're locked
so
in,
we do
yeah.
see this
Yeah.
as adults now, just this iGeneration, and you can totally see why with all of the technology. And so, yeah, I think you and I were talking earlier about just the no delayed gratification, like the
Yes.
instant rewards that video games, and you can get on, a child can get on YouTube, and at 3 years old, they're knowing how to search
It's the
for
truth.
the show they want to watch,
Yeah.
and they can watch show after show after show with no delay.
None. Yeah, my niece was actually over visiting me this weekend, and she said, "What games do you have on your phone?"
Yeah.
And so she
They'll
just
download them.
and yeah, so I had to make sure that she didn't do that. I
Yeah.
had to make sure, because I
Or
said,
get the free game.
Yeah. So no, but that was really good. But Megan, I wanted to ask you. So this iGeneration, as we mentioned, they are born in 1996 to the present. They are post trade, the World Trade Center event. So you know, post 9/11.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Do you happen to have any iGeneration youth in your life that you know?
A lot.
A lot. Yeah. So kind of what
Yeah.
would you mention about?
Some of my friends and family's kids are, you know, in that, of
Sure.
course, age range. And so you see them getting really engulfed
Yeah.
into that device. I know a lot of times the parents are having to say, hey, look up from it. Like they're
wow.
so captured,
Yeah.
like their attention is so into it that it's hard for them to sometimes socialize. So I've noticed that. So
Okay.
we'll hear more, I think, tonight about things like that. But, you know, it's just a different it's a different day and age. I
is.
mean, we went out and built forts outside.
We
and
did.
stuff like that, and they're not doing
and a
that.
leaf was, part of what we built the fort with. Yeah,
exactly. Things like climbing trees.
Yes.
I mean, all of that
Yes.
that we did before this world is, this
the
technology world is like, it's night and day. So it's going to be really interesting to hear about what some of the effects of this generation, some of this technology, how it's affecting their brains, their behavior, their emotions, what should parents do to kind of help balance that out, or kind of monitor it to make sure that it's not going too far in certain areas. So I think this is a really hot topic for, really the world, the entire world.
It is, because parenting has changed, it's evolved. But I'm excited. I'm excited about this generation because this is a different time for them. So I'm excited to see the type of individuals they become, even though we're talking about some of those areas that, right? So I'm excited to see. But what do they do with this technology? How do they make sure that we, things develop and continue on? So as you said, tonight we're going to have an excellent show, Raising the iGeneration. It looks like we are about ready to get started.
We could talk all day on this subject, LaShawna.
We really could. So we want to make sure that, again, if you've reached your destination, please make sure that you give yourself, you get your iPad. You want to have everything that you need to take some notes, because
especially if you're a parent.
Yes, and what if you're a mentor?
When do you hear information or a mentor?
Yes.
I have kids that I care a lot
That's
about.
right.
That
That's right.
I want to know, how to help
absolutely.
with them, and just make sure that. Because this topic is not discussed, I don't hear a whole lot about it.
Sure.
And when people have kids, they say like, no one gave you a book on how to parent.
Oh God,
but
it's the
even
truth.
more so
It's
now, if you were to ask your mom or grandmother, they couldn't have told you how to raise an iGeneration
whatsoever.
So where do you learn that?
Yes. And that's a good point, Megan, because some grandparents are raising their grandchildren.
Right.
So imagine, I think Terry went through some of the generations on the first millennial show.
Yeah.
So imagine a baby boomer raising an iGeneration.
Right.
So there's two ways you can look at it. It could be, it's tough, right? But there's a couple of ways that iGeneration, because of the way they think and, how they move, and they're really quick with technology, that baby boomer could really learn a lot.
Yeah.
It keeps their mind agile,
They do,
right?
they
It can
do.
keep them engaged in
The
what
child's
society.
probably setting up all of their technology devices.
Completely. Yeah. They're like, we got it, Grandma. You know. So there's a couple of things, right? They could totally go into technology versus being the other side would be like, kind of not embracing it. Just kind of move along with the times,
and
right?
it could balance out. I mean, if the the grandparent could balance out the child.
Absolutely.
Like, no, you gonna go play outside. You're not stuck on this
it's
iPad
true.
all day.
It's very true.
Grandparents do have that kind of old school
They do.
approach.
They do.
So that could help too.
Yes, well, and I like what you're saying, to make a balanced
I like
iGeneration use. Yeah, I like that a lot. So the other thing is, with this generation, with the parenting and mentoring, what you have to learn is how do you properly mentor between, because if you're a parent and raising an iGeneration, you probably are Gen maybe Y, X. So the world has changed for you as well, right? So now you're going into, okay, well, make sure I have the proper skills as to be a parent raising my child that's a Gen I. So everyone's learning, right? Everybody's learning. So this is what's really key about tonight's topic is everybody's learning. You never ever want to stop. You're never going to stop learning. Your children at all times. What's good about this generation and generations to come is because you want to be a good listener, parenting or mentoring. I'm sure you can speak to that, Megan. Being a really good listener to children regardless. And then also children really have to embrace their parents and learn from what a parent has to offer, of course, right? So, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but you have to, they're going to talk about they're going to talk about it. They're going to talk about it tonight. They're going to go into some things tonight. So I think that we are getting ready to get started. So if you are at your destination, get ready for Michael Lee Parker and tonight's topic, Raising the iGeneration.
Hello everyone, Terry Fulton here, AKA Uncle Terry. Y'all coined that. I said it on one of the last shows, but y'all been coining it online. But Uncle Terry's here, so we're gonna go ahead and jump right in. Welcome to another You Are a CEO show, where we talk about topics in life, career, and in business. And tonight we're gonna talk about raising the I generation. And a lot of people keep asking me, what's the I for? You're going to find that out this evening. So let's go ahead without further ado and let's just jump right in. Now let's describe first the I generation, and there's this list I want to share with you all. When you think about the 7 characteristics of the I generation, they're pragmatic, they're very positive people, they have a positive outlook. They're competitive. So if you have like siblings that are growing up together, you want to make sure that you can create some competition. See who can vacuum the house the fastest. You might have a very clean house. They're also very connected, and they're connected online. A lot of people say they're disconnected, but they're actually very connected to people that are close to them as well as the rest of the world. They're socially responsible. There's a lot of the I generation that they understand what's happening, the climate of the country, the world, and they're very responsive to it. It's very important to understand that. They're customizers. They like to build things to actually tackle very specific solutions. So they're customizers. They're plugged in all day, all night, 24/7. They are plugged in. As a matter of fact, I think they have a plug. They're actually literally plugged in. And then they're self-reliant. And when you start to think about self-reliant, they're not going to wait on Generation X to solve their problems or to come with solutions. They're going to create them themselves, and that's why a lot of them even are entrepreneurial. So when we're thinking about raising the I generation, we want to make sure that we understand that, because if that's what they value and that is what characterizes them, it's important to understand those things when raising them and helping them and coaching them and actually making sure that they're successful. Now, that being said, let's look at defining a parent. A lot of people are saying, is this just for parents? A big part of tonight's show is for parents. And a parent is a friend that is recognized as the authority, guide, mentor, and leader of a child or group of children. So remember that. You're an authority. You're not their best friend. You're a friend, but you're not their buddy. You're an authority. You're a guide. You don't have to make them do anything. You want to guide them and mentor them, and you want to make sure that you lead. And there's different ways to lead. You can lead from the front. You can lead from behind. You can lead by example. And you can actually lead by giving really good advice. And so keep that in mind. But when you're looking at a mentor is a friend that is recognized as a positive influence of a child or group of children. So they're not the authority. They're not the ones that are make the decisions, but they can positively influence this I generation and make sure that they develop and grow to be successful. Now, what's the difference between parents and mentors? The skills of a parent and the skills of a mentor are practically identical. It takes the same set of skills to mentor someone as it does to parent someone. The big difference is who's responsible. Okay, so we don't want parents to give up their responsibility to mentors. That's not the mentor's responsibility to raise the I generation. But we don't want the mentors to take too much on themselves and act like the parents. We have to work together to raise this I generation and make sure that we're not bashing each other, but we're a team of adults that love them and we want to raise them appropriately. That's what tonight's show is all about. And I'm really excited to introduce to you the boss. I always call him the boss. He's not y'all boss, but he's mine. And he actually created this whole thing, You Are a CEO, and he's gonna spend some quality time with you all tonight going through what it means to raise the I generation. So without further ado, I would like to welcome to the set, Mr. Michael E. Parker. Can we give him a round of applause, everybody? Can we get a round of applause? Can we give a round of applause?
Thank you, sir. It's good to see you.
Likewise, and I'm going to go ahead and give things over to you. I know you got a lot of good things to say.
Well, thank you so much. You did just a great job laying a foundation about everything. How you all doing out there? Michael E. Parker, I hope you enjoyed. Terry Fulton, who's done a lot with youth all over the country and talking about parents and mentors. And I just want to get across to you what we're talking about tonight, whether you're a parent or not. all of us have to be leaders, and we have to know how to develop others, and how, whether you're in business, whether you're a manager, whether you're a director, there's some form of parenting in all that we do, being able to actually cause others to grow and develop because of our leadership. And that's really what a parent is able to do. And so I want to talk to you in phases about different key areas related to being a good parent. And so I can tell you that when you start thinking about what it takes to do this, sometimes you wonder, where do I start? Well, tonight we're going to start off, I want to start off talking about character attributes. So you should see on the screen that it mentions character attributes of parents. And we think about character attributes, we're really talking about how do we begin to show the sum total of ingredients that make up who a person is. What are those consistent ways that you behave in your personality and how you respond to things that someone can say that's who you are as an individual? And so this is what we're covering. We talk about the character attributes of parents. These are the type of ingredients that we want to see in a parent. So let's start off talking about each one. So hopefully y'all can see the screen there, character attributes of parents. And we're going to jump right in and go to the next area here. The first thing I want to mention is that parents must genuinely be able to have care. And sometimes you could say, well, that just is not, we don't need to mention that. Everybody knows that. Everyone cares, right? You're a parent, automatic. No, that's not necessarily true. Sometimes we may have brought a child into the world, but no one really taught us how to care. Maybe we didn't receive care from the people who raised us. Maybe they didn't know how to show care in different ways. Maybe they showed care in certain specific areas, but neglected other areas. So we have to actually be taught how to care. There's something there and a natural affection that we all must develop where we know how to actually show true care. Sometimes we think care is giving someone a hug, right? But care is a lot deeper than that. When you really care for a person, you think about what is needed. You think about making sure that something actually got done. It's actually following through. It's not just knowing what needs to happen. It's actually doing something about it. And so genuine care is something that we want you to keep in mind. This is a critical attribute. Now let's go to another one. Another key area is parents must have patience. So when you think about patience, I want you to think about, sometimes we define patience as the ability to endure, the ability to wait for something. And, when you're trying to get something to grow, whether that's a plant, whether that's something that, you're trying to develop, you have to have patience to wait. Every parent is a seed planter. Every parent has the ability to plant things into the mind of something that is developing or someone that is developing. And so when you plant something, if you're going to do it right, you have to have the patience to allow it to begin to grow. And so it's just as much as you got to know what seeds to plant, you got to have the patience to allow those seeds to grow. And how do you water those things? And how do you begin to reinforce those things that you've planted so that it grows up the right way? But patience is extremely important. Being willing to wait for those things to come. And sometimes it's something that you've taught a child, but you have to be willing to allow situations and challenges to come up and then wait for them to discover and revisit the seed that you planted. And sometimes that takes time. So this is something to keep in mind. Another thing that I want you to remember is parents must be good listeners. Now, I know most of us, we have two ears and we can hear, but by the same token, when you think about listening, listening is deeper than that. Listening means to actually understand and to really be able to process what someone is trying to communicate to you. Being a good listener is also being a good observer, because you have to know, what is that child really saying? That child may have not said anything and said a mouthful, or they might have said a mouthful and really didn't say anything. So you have to know, what am I listening for? I'm watching, I'm observing demeanor. I'm watching what was said and what wasn't said. I'm able to actually hear the words that are sounding out from inside of the child. I'm able to have an inner ear and to tap into something that can listen deeper than the surface. And a lot of parents end up getting off course because they're not able to go a layer deeper in their listening. So there's a lot of talking happening, but the listening is only at the surface level. So we have to be able to go deeper as parents. We have to understand, how do I get below those layers and really understand what that child is trying to communicate? What is it that they're really saying? All right, let's go to another. Now, these are just character attributes. So another key one is that parents must model respect. Now, when we talk about respect, now we understand respect to mean showing honor to someone, being able to show the right attitude and showing someone that you have respect for what they might say, what they might do, who they might be. And so we talk about levels of respect at YOUCEO, you know, respect that's earned, respect that's given, and all these different layers. But what I want you to understand is this really says parents must model respect. So you have to, a model is someone that normally walks around the runway and you look at them. Well, this means parents have to give a child, show a child what respect looks like, right? And that also could be them seeing how you show respect to other people. Showing them that you respect your job, that you respect the environment in which you live. You respect things being managed a certain way in the home. You even show respect for them by giving them a voice sometimes, right? All these little things is introducing them to what respect looks like. Respect is just a word until you make it a reality. So keep that in mind. It must be modeled. It's something that they should get familiar with, something they should see that begins to come up in life's journey, that they begin to see here. And again, when things come up with teachers, with some of their friends, modeling respect is also showing them how to act respectfully in different situations. And when you teach them that, they're slowly learning what respect is, how to implement that respect, and how to have respect for others. Very, very important character attribute. All right, let's go to another one here. So another key area is parents must be responsible. And this word responsible is just gigantic, because when we talk about being responsible, you know, a word you can kind of dig out of responsible is response, right? It's missing the E, but let's just add it in there. There's got to be a response. You can't just be responsible in your mind. You got to show your responsibility in how you respond to the challenges of parenting. Being responsible means it's not just about having a child and acknowledging that they're mine, but being responsible for their development, responsible for their growth, responsible for their behavior, responsible for their decisions, responsible for what they've learned, responsible for what they're ignorant of, responsible for how they handle their emotions. Being able to see that I am involved. It is a part of my responsibility to make sure. See, a lot of times as parents, we are very quick to celebrate the things that make us look good and to run away from the things that don't look so good. When things look good, you say, look at my daughter, look at my son. And when things go bad, you say, I don't know where she got that from, right? I don't know why he acts like that. Well, we have to be careful. We have to make sure we're responsible for the whole child. And when we see those areas that we don't like, to take responsibility by helping them to go to coach and train and adjust to what they need to do to become a better child, a better young person, and ultimately a better person. And this is what we want to keep in mind. So remember, being responsible is a lot deeper than just saying, I am a parent. It's understanding what is needed for that child and then not running from your role and the authority you've been given to help make that child better. All right, let's go to another character attribute. And this one is about honesty. Parents must be honest. Now, this honesty is bigger than what you might be thinking. So what do we mean by being honest? A lot of times, you know, we hear the word honest. It means to say things from a pure place and all these things. But I want you to understand this. We've got to be honest, first of all, with ourselves. Being honest with ourselves, being honest with how we grew up, being honest about our roadblocks, being honest about our shortcomings, being honest about the things that might shape how we parent, being honest about how we feel about our parents. All of these things are first. Once we're honest about that, Then we start being able to teach our child to be honest about what they're dealing with. And then there's a mutual honesty. If I'm honest with myself, I can give that honesty to my child. And then there's a bridge we can build of honesty where when things come up, the child has seen honesty before, so they can be honest with me. And when they become honest with me, when there's an honest problem, we can get to an honest answer or solution. When there's a dishonest representation of the problem, we'll never get to an honest solution. And this is why honesty is so important. And we have to work towards this and practice it and teaching that child. And you've got to create an environment where it's safe for your child to be honest. If you jump on everything with both feet and it come down too hard at a time that you shouldn't, you've just closed the door of honesty because you've evoked fear instead of welcoming their honest feelings. And so being able to allow them to be honest, being able to open a door for honesty, but still allowing them to understand that with honesty, there still is a consequence, and that's okay. And teaching them that that's what it means to become a man, that's what it means to become a woman, is to be honest and be able to accept the consequence. But again, parents, it begins with us first. All right. So I think I'm wrapping up the character attributes here, but another one is parents must be committed. We must be committed. So we can't just be committed in the cradle and then lose it when they get to the stroller. We can't be committed at the stroller and then lose it when they're learning how to walk. We can't be committed when they learn how to walk and then forget to stay committed in puberty. We can't be committed at puberty and forget to be committed when they had their first major problem to hit their life. It's a long-term commitment to see that child through, to see them grow, to see them develop, to not run when it gets tough. Commitment is not what you do when things are great. Commitment is what you do when things get hard. For all the real parents out there to understand, every child that we bring into the world is not this precious tulip that will have no problems. It is a real individual that has real things to face, just like you and I did. And if that's the case, I got to remain committed throughout their journey to make sure that when the going gets tough, I don't get going, I get involved. Keep that in mind when we're talking about being committed. All right, this is our first segment here on the character attributes of parents, and I hope you've enjoyed this. I got more to say tonight, so just sit back and remember, nobody in listening tonight is not a parent. We all are in some way, and this is why tonight we're talking about being better parents and better mentors. We're going to have a short commercial break, and I'll be right back.
A lot of what we believe about generations isn't true. It's a good story, but it's not necessarily true. And what I want to do in the time we have is bring to life what research shows us is true. But I want to start with this morning. So how many of you woke up this morning? Come on, where's my people? All right, just checking. And how many of you woke up this morning and the first thing you did is you reached for your cell phone? Come on, right? Most of us? How many of you slept with your cell phone last night? Come on. That's what I'm talking. That's great. So like you, I woke up this morning, here's my phone, and I called my daughter, which I do every single day when I'm on the road. And I called her from this iPhone right here. How did I call her on this iPhone? FaceTime, there we go, right? Moms, parents, we know what FaceTime is for. So look up here. Look at the phone. So this morning, I'm talking with her, she's talking with me, we have this whole conversation going on. My daughter is 4 years old. She will never remember a time before you could look at the person on the phone while you were talking to them. And her belief system, what is true, what makes the world right, you will always have been able to see the person on the phone while you were talking with them. That is how the phone works, right? The phone is broken if she can't see you. What was the cartoon where you could see the person you were talking to? The Jetsons, right? The Jetsons. She will think the Jetsons is about the past. Because what we discovered at our research center is technology is only new if you remember it the way it was before. Otherwise, that's all you know. That's the only way she knows to use a phone. If she picks up a landline, which we don't have one in our house, but if she did, the dial tone freaks her out. She's like, what's happening here? So as we think about this generation after millennials, which is who we study, as we think about this generation, what we start to discover are trends that you and I need to know. And the reason is this. We believe that the generation after millennials, we call them iGen, I'll explain in a second. We believe that you and I in this room, we have all the ages in here, will end up looking more like iGen than they will end up looking like us.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. That was another great insight into some very, very intriguing things about parenting. And so I'm going to just keep on going. We're going to have a lot of great commercials and kind of side sessions like that you get to enjoy along the way. We talked about character attributes, and now we're jumping into specific skills that are useful as a parent, skills that you need, skills that you must have. And we know in the workforce we talk about skills, and skills makes you more marketable to a job. But really good parenting skills will make you more successful as a parent. And so let's talk about some of these critical skills for effective parenting. So some of these critical skills, let's start off with the first one, which is parents must develop the ability to lead. And being a good leader is being able to understand what is it that first of all, you got to know where you're going. So this is very critical as a parent. You have to think about, where do I want to go as a parent? What type of environment, what type of culture do I want in the household? What is that ideal end result of a good child to you? Because if you don't know that, how can you lead? Lead them where, right? So I first have to know, I've got to define what that adult looks like that I'm trying to create. And then I can begin to lead in that direction. So this is a critical skill. If I know where I'm trying to go, I can, if I'm headed somewhere and we go the wrong way, I can get back on track because I know where I'm going. If I don't know where I'm going and just driving, I might end up anywhere. And I'm just responding to things as they come up. Very important skill. And always remember, you know you're a leader if you look backward and see someone's following you. So make sure that you know you're doing it well if you're getting someone to follow, and that someone needs to be your children. Another area is parents must develop the ability to teach. And teach is different than tell, right? Telling someone something is easy to do. You can have a boss that does that, and you have to do it. A parent must teach, and teaching takes something out of you. Teaching is actually sacrificing something to help someone understand. So make sure that you don't confuse the two. Because a parent is a role of authority, we can miss the opportunity to teach versus tell. Telling is go do this and go do that. Teaching explains why they should do that. Teaching begins to educate and create opportunities for them to get epiphanies on their own. These are all things that you have to consider. A good teacher begins to consider how to design a situation for you to understand. That's different than telling someone what to do. But remember, as a leader, you got to know what you're trying to teach. So this is an important skill. Another key area is parents must develop the ability to correct. And sometimes this is hard because you have to be able to correct someone. And when you think about correct, think about that for a minute. We look at correct as it means correction, right? But you also look at correct as getting the right answer on a test. Correct is a good thing. It means something was going the wrong way and I corrected it, right? It could have went left and I corrected it back center. It was going to go too far to the right. I corrected, right? So correction is taking this child that is moving and keeping them in the center, keeping them moving forward. And so remember, you've got to do this. You can't run from it. Even when sometimes the tears come, even when sometimes that child knows how to make you feel bad, you've got to know when discipline is necessary. You got to know when tough love is necessary. You can't run from those times that you got to be honest where behavior needs to change, or when someone has got off the foundation and you got to get them back on it. And you can't correct something and then water it down so much that it's not correction anymore, right? It's like, you shouldn't have done that. Now let me give you a donut, right? It's got to be a real correction that they feel. Because if they don't feel it, it's not correction. And in the at the end result, you won't be able to keep them on the right path. All right, let's go to another one. Parents must develop the ability to forgive. And when I say forgive, the first level of forgiveness as a parent is forgiving yourself. Did you know we have to be able to forgive ourselves from our own things that we've been through? We have to forgive ourselves from things that have hurt us. We have to forgive people that we saw that maybe gave us a certain experience that is impacting how we help others. We have to forgive those things that sometimes we hold ourselves back from. And sometimes we're in our own way. So before I can begin to help anyone else, not let alone a child, I've got to have enough forgiveness for myself to move on as an individual. And then if I don't have a certain amount of self-worth, if I don't feel good about myself, how can I help someone else feel good about themselves? If I have something I'm holding against me, how can I hold the hand of my child? So I've got to be willing to forgive. And then when the child begins to do things, and it's, sometimes they can really hurt when you see behavior that doesn't represent what you've instilled in them, you got to be willing and able to forgive them. And the only way you can do that is you've been practicing it first with you, and then with them, you learn how to also show forgiveness. You can't keep putting something before a child over and over and over again where they never feel they can rebound from that because you're not allowing them to. So you have to truly be able to forgive because, again, when a child does something that you love, it's like you did it to yourself. It hurts in a deep place. And if you can't forgive, you'll be stunting that child's growth by the boundaries you set by your inability to forgive. So make sure you're conscious of that. All right. Another skill is parents must develop the ability to comfort. And comfort, that word just sounds good, doesn't it? Comfort. There's a piece of furniture they call a comforter, right? And so being able to bring comfort to a situation, to an individual, do you know the buttons to push? Because there's going to be times where your child is going through something and they're really beginning to focus in on the pain of the situation. And listen, I want you to hear this. Let me put this, make sure this camera is on me. I want to look you in the eyes on this. Let me tell you something. Now, I talked about correction, but I want to make sure you understand something. It's just as important to be able to bring comfort to a painful situation at the right time as it is to correct something when it should be corrected. The reason is pain and trauma go deeper into the brain than anything else. And when your child is in those formative years, that is the most deadly times in their life into the things that will shape who they become. And when those painful things hit them, you've got to be there with a blanket of comfort in the right way so that that pain doesn't go deeper than it should. They should learn from the pain, but not be paralyzed by it. And that's your job as a parent, to understand when must I bring comfort, that I might be able to allow that situation to do what it should do for them and not what it shouldn't. So keep this in mind. Very, very important. All right. Also, a parent must have the ability to motivate. And remember this, when we talk about motivation, yes, it's the rah, rah, rah. Yes, it's you did great. Yes, it's the, making sure your child feels beautiful, feels handsome, feels smart, feels athletic, feels talented. Yes, we should do that. But motivation also has to do with listening. The best motivation to anyone is helping them do what they like to do, what they enjoy. So you have to also be able, I've seen parents trying to make their child into who they want it to be. I've seen parents trying to live vicariously through their child. I've seen parents trying to shape that child and force them into a box when they're not a box, they were a triangle. And so we have to make sure that we are able to motivate also by listening first to what that child is giving us and giving off, so that we can tap into that and help them to grow what is coming out of them already. And that is one of the best forms of motivation, or to shape the things that trigger them to succeed, to take those things and then channel it toward healthy things. That's another key that we're looking at with motivation. So it includes listening and channeling as well. All right. And as we wrap up here, parents must have the ability to ask for help. You do not know it all. Let's be honest. Let's be real. No leader does. No CEO does. No president does. No government does. No leader that you could think of, any name you want to call, there's no one that doesn't need help. Why would you think that parents are any different? We all need help. We all need advice. And anyone that's not open to advice and open to learn is a dangerous individual, not just a parent, anybody. And so as a parent, make sure you're willing to ask for help. Make sure you're willing to talk to others who've been on the parenting journey longer than you, people who are already in your situation. That doesn't mean to take everything that they did as law or as fact. Let your parenting still be shaped by what you feel is best for you, but take all inputs that you can and wrap that all together into what you feel is best. Keep the good and throw away the bad according to your filter. But you got to make sure that you're willing to truly learn and ask for help. So this is, again, some of the critical skills that you want to keep in mind. We're going to go to another commercial break. I hope you're enjoying what you're getting so far. This is so important because we want to see better parents, which produces better youth, which will produce a better world. We'll take one more commercial break here, and I'll be back to talk with you more about parenting the iGeneration.
These young people are growing up in an incredibly unique time in history. We have driverless cars, personalized medicine, and wars without borders. Most have used tablets and smartphones nearly their entire lives, having spent countless hours of their teen years texting and posting and streaming and surfing and linking and liking and pinning and poking and tweeting and blogging and friending and sharing, and they do even more of it as young adults. But Generation Z is far more than a reflection of their digital behavior. For them, growing up in a post-9/11 world can feel scary and unsafe. Their childhoods have also been marked by a major recession where families lost homes and parents lost their jobs. These events likely shaped the values and characteristics of Generation Z, as many tend to be pragmatic and inventive, filled with a great sense of responsibility and compassion. And while not everyone in Generation Z fits this mold, research on this cohort suggests some key trends about the concerns, motivations, and aspirations of many of them as they enter into young adulthood. Many of those in Generation Z don't come out on their own to participate in community service. Not because they don't want to contribute, but because their way of contributing is different. Instead of volunteering, many would rather tackle the very problems causing the need for volunteering, essentially making volunteerism unnecessary altogether. Take an issue like hunger. In their minds, although they know the importance of volunteering at a food bank, many would rather use their time, energy, and resources to work towards creating a sustainable solution that ensures everyone has access to enough healthy food. Generation Z embodies a great entrepreneurial spirit. Nearly half of them plan to start their own businesses in the future. But being an entrepreneur is more than just about being their own bosses or taking control of their career paths. It's a way to leverage their passions to create social change. See a problem, create a business, and work towards a solution. And they're not trying to create the next mega company. Many would just like to have a small business that focuses on an issue that they care about. Because for them, making a difference is far more important than making money. Generation Z is that rare generation, positioned in a time when I believe we need the most, challenging our systems in unexpected ways. And despite our hesitance and, well, maybe even fears, we need to embrace their desire for change and cultivate their passions, because having them do it their way may be exactly what will save us all.
All right, Michael Lee Parker here, and I hope you enjoyed another interesting, intriguing commercial there that we gave you. And we're still talking about parenting the iGeneration, and now I want to jump right into some tips for successful parenting. We talked about character attributes, we talked about skills, and now these are just some tips directly from me that I feel are extremely important to being very successful at parenting. Now let's jump right in. So the first tip that we want to talk about is we want to create and maintain an environment that really builds the self-esteem of our child. And so I want you to notice when we say create an environment and we talk about building the self-esteem, there's so many youth out there, and some of us went through the same thing where our self-worth wasn't high enough. And this means that had to begin with the parents beginning to build that self-esteem. And so learning how to build the self-esteem of a child, learning how to look for those indicators in their journey where their self-esteem, you say, well, how do you build the self-esteem? Is you have to notice when a self-esteem issue presents itself. And when it presents itself and you see there's a self-esteem issue, that's when you learn to build, right? You can only build once it shows up. And there's things you can do before something shows up by just investing and saying, always have confidence in yourself, son. Always remember you're beautiful, daughter, no matter what you have on. You're beautiful, right? You have things you can invest. But those big ones that are going to anchor in them is when something comes up where the first time they look at themselves and they consider that maybe they aren't those things. Maybe they're not worth anything. That's when you've got to be there and build. And because those are the things that are going to, remember, those seeds you planted are great, but then you got to really water them when those situations come up where their self-esteem must be built up. So keep that in mind. Another key tip. So be knowledgeable and honest about your own insecurities and, really knowing exactly how those experiences how they've affected your parenting. Because we all have insecurities. So we ought to be careful that when we consider our insecurities, experiences that we went through, not just with our moms and dads, but there could be experiences we went through in life, with other relationships, with other situations, people that showed up in our world and they left debris. And that debris has gotten into how we think about things. So you can only give counsel and advice from the womb of your own mind. And you got to be careful because your mind is not pure. Your mind has been tainted. So you have to begin to consider and say, I have to consider myself before I begin to give counsel to create self-worth in someone else. So be able to understand. A good parent knows their insecurities. A good parent is clear about their experiences and how they've impacted them. That don't mean they always get it right in terms of how it influences their behavior, but they're aware of it. They know about it, and they're able to harness it when they need to and to see it. And so this is very, very important. Just because something happened to you when you was 7 don't mean it's the exact same for your child. You didn't get through it, but they might, right? You have to be very cautious at how you look at that. Let's go to tip number 3. So correct your child when they are wrong and never neglect to provide the appropriate discipline when it's necessary. And we talked a little bit about that, but remember, any parent that doesn't believe their child can be wrong is a dangerous parent. And it's not so much that we enjoy telling our child that they're wrong. It's the fact that if we ever want them to be right, they got to know what wrong is. So don't look at wrong as a bad thing. Wrong is an investment in right. So if I take the time to make sure that I identify what wrong is, and remember, as a parent, again, you're going to be a leader, you got to know what that definition of wrong is for you. Because some parents made that definition too low in some areas and too high in others. So you got to find what is that middle ground of wrongness definition that we need to have so that then a righteous mindset can come forth in that child. Keep that in mind. Let's go to number 4. So we have to monitor the relationship surrounding the child and understand how your child is being impacted by them. So every relationship is an influence on the mind of your child. So you have to understand what environment, what situations are around them. Now, you can't be a police officer for your child and make sure that everything that could ever come up will never taint their mind, right? I don't want them around. Oh, I don't want them to hear that. Oh, don't go over here. Oh, they're going to learn about this. And after a while, you're not living in reality. So the key word in this tip is to monitor it. Someone that's monitoring it, you're aware of who they're around. You're aware of what they're getting exposed to, not just by watching, but by talking and listening and being able to listen. And when they tell you something that you just can't believe, don't respond too, harshly, because then you'll close that door down. You've got to be able to keep that door open. So you're monitoring what's surrounding them, and you're starting to see the impact that is having, understanding that impact, so that you can make sure to be there for them and shaping their success going forward. All right, let's go to tip number 5. So tip number 5, be patient and resilient enough to stay in the fight when your child begins to go through challenging situations or phases, right? It actually says and phases because it's not an or, it is and. There are going to be some challenges, situations, and phases. And so when you begin to see these things, you've got to be willing to fight. Fight for the success of your child. And the way that you do that is you've got to go wake up every day with something inside that is thinking about a long distance marathon and not a sprint. Sometimes we want to sprint, right? I did enough here and enough there. I'm tired too. What about me? I need some time for myself. When the last time someone made me feel good? Somebody build up my self-esteem. Somebody need to help create an environment for me to feel better, right? And sometimes as a parent, you can quickly get out of the fight because you're fighting with life itself. You're fighting with your own things, right? So being able to stay in the fight by being able to manage your own fights well. So if the key is if you're fighting too much in other things, it's hard to stay in this fight. So you got to remember, this responsibility requires for you to keep your gloves on. When things get challenging, when things get tough, when it takes those extra hours, that extra time, that's where true parenting rises up. It's when it gets tough. Those good parents, they get in there and they get tough as well. This is what we have to keep in mind. All right, let's go to tip number 6. This is an important one. Never make an idol out of your child, and always see them for who they really are. Very important. So if you get this thing in your mind, and it's easy to do because we think about our child as little us's, right? Little yous, little me's. And we have to be careful about that, because when you make an idol out of that child, you're setting them up to think about how to be worshiped versus someone that is trying to be successful. And there's a difference. You want to teach your child to be successful. If you teach them how to be worshiped, when they get in new environments and no one is signing up for that job of worshiping them, they won't know how to respond. That boss that won't worship them, that teacher that won't worship them, those friends on the schoolyard that won't worship them, they won't know how to respond. But if you teach them how to have respect for themselves and how to respect others, and you teach them that they do have flaws, but it's okay. They've got good things, they've got challenging things, but they can always improve the challenging, and they can maximize the things that are good. When you teach them the reality of that, then when things hit them in their life, they'll deal with it in a real way. They'll say, there, a challenge came up, but I've already learned that I can improve on a challenge. I can make something better. But if they've only been taught to be worshiped, this is the problem. When children are constantly told that they're great, that they're the best, no matter what, that they never fail, there's never anything wrong, you're teaching them how to live in a fake world. And when the real world hits them, they won't be able to survive. Very important. Make sure to keep that in mind. Tip number 7. Last but not least, establish yourself as a parent, not a sibling or their friend. Now, you have to be a friend, as you saw in the definition that Terry Fulton went over earlier, but he also had in there about authority. And so we have to understand, we have to establish ourselves as a parent. That is a job. Let's just stop there. Establishing yourself as a parent. What is the day and how do you reinforce that that child understands who you are? You're only established as a parent if you act like one. So you have to learn, how do I establish myself as a parent? You have to show up that way in your love, in your care, in your discipline, in your ability to build them up. When they feel that from you, that's when they recognize you as who you are. When you do the role of a parent, you'll be received as a parent. And that is the key. You got to know how to put your arm around and be a friend, but you got to know when it's time to remind them what your role is, and that it is to be respected. That balance is extremely critical. All right. I want to leave you with something to think about. I hope you've enjoyed what we've covered. I want to leave you with something to think about, and that is this. Don't be consumed with the idea of trying to be a good parent. It is more important to focus on improving as a person, being a good person. If you're a good person, the things we're talking about are things we should want anyway. Being good, building self-esteem, being a respectful person, being able to be honest, all these character attributes, the skills we've talked about, the tips that I've went over. If you are being a good person, you will automatically be a good parent. And if you're being a good parent, you will teach your child how to be a good person. I hope you've enjoyed this, what we went over here tonight. And I want to leave you with one more really good commercial about a parent who truly acted like a parent. And he was so good, he raised up a little CEO. And you know, this is You Are a CEO. So I like seeing some stories of young CEOs. But that young CEO would have never happened unless that parent was the CEO of their parenting. Enjoy this commercial, and when we come back, we got a special activity and some special guests that you're gonna really love. Terry Fulton's gonna facilitate us through before we close out. So watch the commercial and be ready for some exciting fun on the other end of this commercial.
So as part of our week-long series, Teen Titans, we have been highlighting the very best and brightest of the next generation. And the focus of today's story is a 13-year-old businesswoman who is creating a lot of buzz with her product. Check her out.
Did you like it?
Michaela Ulmer might be just 13, but she's all business.
These are ginger, these are mint, and these are iced tea.
This teen knows how to handle customers with ease.
Thank you.
What she's selling? Lemonade.
And all of our flavors are healthy and they're fun and functional.
When Michaela was just 4 years old, she was stung by 2 bees in the same week, which led to her fascination with bees. Using her great Granny Helen's cookbook, she found a way to bring attention to how important bees are to our planet by using a little bit of honey.
It was like this old tattered cookbook and there were strings coming out and the covers were falling off. And I was like, what am I gonna do with this cookbook? And then we started flipping through some pages and I found this recipe, so we tried making it and it tasted really good. And that's when I decided, what if I take that flax lemonade, sweeten it with honey, and that could be my company.
Now, the Austin, Texas native is the CEO of Me and the Bees Lemonade, a business she started with one single lemonade stand.
I started selling it twice a year, and I kept on doing that for a little while until someone from a pizza shop was like, hey, if you can bottle your lemonade and put a label on it, we'll carry it in our store.
When was the last time you tried something so good and refreshing and wondered, could this be good for me?
By 2015, she secured a $60,000 investment from Shark Tank's Damon John, helping her business take flight.
Want to try some?
But for Michaela, it's more than just lemonade. It's about bringing buzz to an important topic.
Bees pollinate 1 out of every 3 bites of the food we eat. They contribute over $16 billion to our agricultural economy a year. And so a lot of people don't realize how important that they were and that they're dying.
According to a recent study, more than half of the bees in North America are declining due to loss of habitat and pesticide use.
I am afraid that the bees will die.
Her message is simple: buy a bottle, save a bee. She partners with local beekeepers and even donates a portion of her profits to help sustain hives. Today, Me and the Bees Lemonade is available in more than 350 Whole Foods and Wegmans stores across the country.
I realized that this could be a company that was national and that I could actually empower people to help save bees.
The lesson Michaela shares is that when life stings you, make lemonade.
Don't be discouraged by life's still stings. Get back up and spread your wings.
How much do you love her? Michaela is looking to expand her business, and this month is going to be selling her lemonade in 5 more states. As if that were not enough, she's looking to write a book about how to become an entrepreneur. So, Michaela, cheers to you.
Is anybody out there thirsty? That is one of my favorite stories ever. That story is fantastic. And oh my goodness, look at who I found. They were just walking around the neighborhood, so I called them in to, no, I'm just kidding. So here we have Miss Penny Foster. She is an iGeneration mom. Yes, yes. Welcome to the show. You doing good?
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Great to be
And then
here.
we have my good friend Michael Poon, who is an iGeneration dad. Awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So before we get started now, we might go a little bit over the normal timing because we're going to include you all. We are going to be playing a game that includes the audience, and it is going to be moms versus dads. And so you all have to make sure that you stay tuned to be involved. But before we get off into the game a little bit, I just want to kind of talk to you all a little bit about, man, raising this iGeneration is pretty interesting. You know, you have a son, you got 2 daughters. So what were some of the things that went through your mind as Michael was going through, you know, the characteristics as well as the skills and abilities of parents, as well as those 7 tips? What were some things that you thought about?
I thought it was really good, and it really came right down to where I'm living today.
Yeah,
It's definitely
I bet.
a lot of information that I can use. I really enjoyed what he said about being honest about your own past and kind of acknowledging things that have affected you. And that really kind of summed up at the end when he talked about focus on being a good person and the good parenting will follow. So that was really impactful for me. I'm going to definitely take that.
Nice. What about you, Michael? I know, you know, you're a pretty passionate man. I always enjoy talking to you. You have, I'll never forget, you know, you have this like really endearing and caring personality, but I heard the dad voice one time. And I straightened up with you, boy. I was like this too. So the definite tip number 7 came into being. But what were some of the things that you thought about when he was talking?
I really enjoyed that he said that what was that one? A dangerous parent is the one that is closed-minded.
Right.
I really love that open-mindedness because that's what I wanted to do for Adrian. And any, you know, you feel so bad for all the things that they go through. And I like that about this, that you're open to get whatever comes, you know, to help us parent our children in this generation.
Good. And let's kind of talk about that just a little bit before we get into game time. Moms versus dads. So you all be ready. So the iGeneration is different. It's different than any generation we've ever witnessed. They're the only ones that are called digital natives. Right? They know about this world. They were born in this world. They call us immigrants, right? We
they were
migrated
born with an
into
iPhone
this.
in their hand
exactly,
almost.
right? You know, so you know, our Generation Z. There's different things that you call them. Some of the things that you were talking about, Michael, in terms of just some of the things that they're exposed to, everything's at their fingertips. What I want to ask, not necessarily just about them, what is it like for you all, and any one of you can jump in first, seeing the world that they grow up in, knowing that they're your responsibility and that they're being raised, you know, in a good way? What does that feel like? Now, you don't have to give tips or anything. I'm more worried, what does it feel like having that responsibility in the 21st century? I know it's a deep question. Do y'all feel the
ladies
first? That's a deep question, but you do feel a sense of responsibility, and I think about I'm personally a millennial. I was pretty young when I had my kids, so you know, you hear everything that's mentioned about millennials, and you're like, man, you know, we kind of have a bad rap. But I really enjoyed last week when we kind of broke through those stereotypes that are out there, but there's definitely some stereotypes, and you kind of wonder what's going to be the stereotype of this generation and what are they going to be known for, and you really feel that responsibility as a parent to make sure that, you know, you are the one contributing to that legacy, right? So
good. What are some of the emotions you go through as being a dad today?
Just so much information is so like in front of his face, and you get, you know, you have to really help them understand all of it. And it's just fearful that so much is impact on them, and they have to juggle it and absorb it, and just want to make sure that they're there to help them.
So the power of a network is important to you there, right? The parent and mentor conversation we're having, right? That's really big. And I know all your kids, and I love them to death. And so, but we could have had you on the Millennial Show too, huh? Like, we had leadership, and we had entrepreneurship, and finance, and creativity. We could have had Mom on there. Yeah. That's good. So we're going to go ahead. Are y'all ready? Because you basically have the weight of all of dads on your shoulders, and you have the weight of all moms.
No pressure. On
your shoulders. And so what we want you all to do, we want you all to know that we are welcoming you all to the iGeneration Knowledge Bowl. Now, we have the bowl season for college football. We have the Super Bowl that's being fought for who's going to make the Super Bowl. This is the iGeneration Knowledge Bowl. Who has the knowledge? That's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to ask some very specific questions, and then we want you all to participate in the questions. We have this polling technology that we all want you to be able to log into. And we want you to interact, and they're going to need your help, because whoever wins, moms or dads, gets bragging rights between shows. And when you're going to find out later, we're taking a little bit of break between this year and next year, so you got bragging rights for about 3 weeks. This is big time. This is big time. All right, so you may need to help them. So you can see here, you can go to pollev.com at YAAC to respond, or you can go into the comment section, and there is a link there, so you can click on the link in the comment section. So we'll give you a chance to log in and answer the questions. But here's question number 1. What percentage, don't look on my paper now. So what, and this is for you first, Penny, you're first.
Okay.
I'm old fashioned too.
Okay.
Ladies first. What percentage of the iGeneration say they are happy? Now, the polls are open. You should be able to see this. So the first answer, is it 22% say they're happy? Is it 32% that say they're happy? You can see some of the
I hope it's higher than that.
Is it 42 or is it 52%? Now you can answer, or you can wait and see kind of where it all lands. We see now.
Everyone's kind of undecided.
Yeah.
I want to say 52 because I feel like more than half of them surely should be happy.
Okay.
We hope, right?
All right. So is that your final answer?
I don't know. Yeah, okay.
All right.
I'm going to go with it.
52% is your final answer. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not the correct answer. So, Michael, we're going to come to you. You get a chance to steal. Is it 22, 32, 42, or 52?
I'll say 22.
You'll say 22% says that they're happy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the answer is the audience was correct. 42% of the iGeneration say that they are happy. Congratulations out there in Facebook world, YouTube, Twitter. So we're going to go on to the next question. 88% of the iGeneration are optimistic about their personal future. Is that true or is that false? 88%, the polls are open, of the iGeneration are optimistic about their personal future. Michael, we're going to come to you. This is yours there. So there's a little bit of slack that's coming in now.
Oh,
look
wow.
at the feedback. So what do you think? True or false?
True.
The answer is true. All right, so we got 1 for the dads and 0 for the moms.
No.
All right, let's go to the next answer or question.
Okay.
The average teenager consumes how many hours of media per day? How many hours of media per day? The polls are open.
24? I don't know.
Okay, 24 is not one of them, but we have 3 hours, 5 hours, 7 hours, or 9 hours.
I'm going to go with 9. I'm going to go with 9.
Going to go with 9?
I think it's a lot.
It's kind of funny how the audience is saying none of them picked 3. So everybody's in a 5, 7, or 9.
0 for 3.
The answer, ladies and gentlemen, 9 hours is correct. So we are tied 1-1. Okay, let's go to the next one. You all stay. I'm glad you all are participating. Stay encouraged. They need your help. They need your help. It's only 1-1. Tie score. All right, the next one. What percentage of the iGeneration have Netflix accounts? Michael, this is for you. How many have Netflix accounts? The polls are open. Is it 42, 71, 65, or 51%?
It is 71.
71%, that's your final answer?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's see. You actually agree with the crowd, so let's see how it is. The correct answer is 71%. So the dads take the lead again. All right, this is really good. The pressure is on the moms right now. All right, we only have 12 questions. We're almost halfway there.
Oh my goodness.
All right, next question. True or false question. Only 45% of the iGeneration watch cable TV on a television.
I think that is true.
The polls are open. Okay, we got Penny's answer.
Let's wait and see what people say. I feel like they're not watching cable TV. They're on their phones.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Let's see what everybody's saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
They agree with you?
I think it's true.
And the answer is true. It is 2-2, ladies and gentlemen. Hey. This is getting serious. But Michael has to stumble along the way or he is going to win the game. He is going to win the game. All right. Which group are the iGeneration least likely to consult for their health information? All right. The next group of questions are open. Friends, doctors, Google, or family? Least likely to consult for their health. Friends, doctors, Google, or their family?
Wow.
Oh, that's a tough one, huh?
Yeah.
Doctors.
Doctors, okay, interesting. Doc, that's your final answer?
Yes.
And the answer is, ladies and gentlemen, doctors.
Wow.
They'd rather go on Google and see what's wrong with themselves. They'd be sick for 9 months and they're going to Google it. They're not going to go to the hospital. This is amazing. Welcome to the iGeneration, ladies. And y'all got to raise them. Your girls are going to say, why go to the doctor, Mommy? Just Google it. That's what they're going to say. All right, next question. When traveling, 86% of the iGeneration, this is a tricky one, but it's not, say that they would rather stay in an Airbnb rather than a hotel. This is you, Penny.
Okay. I'm going to say true. I think they would rather try out an Airbnb. They know what it is. It's the novelty of it. I'm going to say Airbnb.
All right. Let's see. Everybody out there saying that is true as well. I can't throw this to you because there's only 2 answers, but it is false.
Oh, man.
Millennials actually in this poll said that they were more willing to do an Airbnb, but your children want to go to a hotel.
Got it. Maybe they're too young to know about Airbnb.
It's possible.
Yet.
It's possible. You haven't got that over to them yet. So where are we at? Are we at 3-2? Oh my goodness, 3-2. This is getting serious. And he gets the next question so he can take a 2-point lead.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
I'm sorry, moms.
On average, the iGeneration prefers to use how many screens to complete work or homework? Is it 5, 4, 3, or 2? Notice 1 is not an option. They are on multiple screens.
I say 2.
You say 2. That's your final answer. Okay, that's what, let me see that. That is not the right answer. Penny gets a chance to come back.
Okay.
What would you say, 5, 4, 3, or 2? We know it's not 2.
I'm going to say 3.
3 screens. And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is 5 screens.
What in the world?
And they have their laptop open, their iPad open, their phone is open, and they might have an additional screen plus a desktop. They got screens everywhere. They might grab your phone. They are losing their mind opening screens. All right, it's still 3-2 because nobody scored on that one. Moms got to root for Penny now because we got a chance to go to a 2-point lead. All right, the average attention span for the iGeneration is 8 seconds. True or false?
True.
True. He says true. All right. That's what most people say. Now, let me just give you a fun fact. The attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. So we're basically saying, if this is true, that iGeneration can't focus as much as a goldfish. The answer is false. Do you know studies actually have found that it's not that their attention span is short. We just have 8 seconds to get their attention or they move on. So again, when it's talk about parenting, you really want to think about that. Or there might be some teachers out there might be some managers out there that maybe you might be the problem. All right. So that was a tricky one. We're still at 3-2. Penny, it's back to you. You can tie the game.
Okay.
3 questions left. The iGeneration is also known as, is it
Generation Z.
Is it digital natives, Gen Z, centennials, both B and C, or all of the above?
Oh, that's trickier. I'm gonna go with all of the above.
All right, she switched the question.
Yes.
And Uncle Terry had a lot of mercy on her because she came hard and strong with Generation Z, but you are correct. All of the above is correct. Tie score, ladies and gentlemen, with 2 questions left. Who are going to get the bragging rights here tonight? Oh, all right, over to you, Michael. The desired profession of the iGeneration is what? Health professional, businessman or woman, not-for-profit or social enterprise, entrepreneurship.
I'm going with entrepreneurship.
Are you going strong with that, or you really like what the crowd is saying?
I like 80%. I like that.
Hey, that is what you call lifeline on different game shows. You went with the lifeline because that was kind of a shaky. All right, that is correct. Entrepreneurship. Now, one thing just to kind of bring a bridge to it, it is entrepreneurship, but they are socially conscious. And so they would actually like to create business to solve problems that are in the world. And so that's really interesting to think about, right? That's what the whole Me and the Bees is all about. They're making lemonade, but they're also saving the bees and the ecosystem. Final question. This question, there's no pressure, but basically, basically, if you get this, it's a tie score and everybody wins. If you miss it, then the mothers lose.
Oh,
all right,
man.
let's go, Mom.
Okay,
She might need some help. The iGeneration is more concerned about blank than making blank. Okay?
Okay.
They're more concerned about making an impact on the world than making money, more concerned about making a name for themselves than making a difference, or more concerned about making money than making a name for themselves.
I am going to go with A, making an impact on the world rather than making money.
Are you sure they are known as the iGeneration?
I think so. I read something about this recently. I'm going to go with that one.
Where'd you read it, on the internet?
Probably.
That is fantastic. You Googled it? Your daughter's told you to Google it?
Probably, yeah. Probably so.
The answer is an impact on the world than making money. You are correct. Yes. Penny comes from behind. I could do a bonus question, but I just like the synergy of everybody wins. Yeah. Mom and Dad working together, and everybody has bragging rights. Really appreciate you all coming on the show. I hope you all enjoyed tonight. Yes. This was fantastic.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you all, what you do day to day in the grind of being a mom, being a dad, being a mentor, because you lugging everybody else's kids around with you, and doing everything you can to make sure that this iGeneration is raised correctly. So I really honor you all. I really do. So we're going to go ahead and stay right here. Don't leave me. And so we're going to go ahead and close things out. Want to thank you all for coming tonight. We want to make sure that you join our Facebook groups. One of them is CEO Success Club. The next one is the YAAC affiliate. You want to make sure you join our Facebook groups and be active. Post in there. Get together. We are an active community. And then subscribe to our YouTube channel, You Are a CEO. There's a lot of good things that are there, and there's a lot more coming, especially as we go into 2019. Then we want everybody to join the movement at youareceo.com. That's our website and the hub of everything that we are doing up to this time. And we want to introduce to you, I'm so excited to let you know that coming in 2019 is our new series, Getting Your Life Together. How many people out there want to give their life together? I want to get mine together for sure. And so we want to make sure that you have that focus. We're going to take a 2-week break, and we're going to be building this whole series, and you're going to spend quite a bit of time with the YOUCEO team, Mr. Parker, and all of us involved, and we're going to help you get your life together. And the first show actually starts, and we're going to talk about financial management on January 7th. And who knows what we might get into in that show. Before we actually sign off totally, can I get the girls to come on here with me real fast? We got the girls to come on real fast. Want to say bye to everybody? Want to look into the camera, wave goodbye. We got the babies with us. Thank you all so much for joining tonight's show. We'll see you in a couple of weeks on the other side in 2019. Be safe for the next couple of weeks, and we appreciate your support. Stay connected. And remember, between now and then, let the whole world know that you are a CEO because you run the business of you. Good night, everyone.
Got to manage my mind. The task is not easy, but to higher heights I climb. I'm determined to succeed, so no excuses, please.